Welcome, everybody, to the Redzone Report, brought to you by PLB Sports and Entertainment, the maker of Josh's Jacks, the JA17 line of coffee, and the Diggs 14 line of hot sauces. Welcome to the show. Please enjoy your time with me. Welcome, everybody, to the Red Zone Report. It's your man, Izzy, and we are here to talk about the Buffalo Bills and whether or not they got better this offseason. Now, there are many of us who believe that they did. Some people don't believe that they did, and we're going to go over all that. My man Robbie here, Izzy, with the lit intro video. Go Bills. Thank you, Robbie. I appreciate it. So we're going to go over whether the Buffalo Bills got better this offseason. Now, there are places where people have left the team, and there are places where we have added people right back to fill in some of those holes, and we're going to discuss that, right? And we'll take it from the top. The first position, quarterback, right? We had a backup last year, and he's no longer with the team. We replaced him with Kyle Allen. Now, last year's backup quarterback, for some reason, I'm forgetting his name right now. But yeah. Case Keenum. There we go. So Case Keenum was our backup last year, and Case Keenum is a pretty good backup. He took the Vikings to the playoffs, almost to a Super Bowl, lost in the NFC Championship game. The Minneapolis Miracle. Hey, he had a real, continuity with Stephon Diggs, and then this offseason, he was allowed to move on, and he is now elsewhere. The Bills did what? They went and got Kyle Allen, friend of Josh Allen, who trains with Jordan Palmer as well, out in California, and that's where we're at now. Now, is Kyle Allen an upgrade over Case Keenum? I wouldn't say so. Is he a downgrade? I also wouldn't say so. They both have very different experiences in the NFL. Case Keenum's been in the NFL a little longer and done a little bit more with his career. But when it comes to talent and ability, I think that they're about even. So I would say that's a wash, right? Quarterback, it's about a wash. Now we go to running back. And this is an interesting one because the guy who's led the team in rushing for the past 4 years, Devin Singletary, is no longer a Buffalo Bill. Right? He went through his whole contract. The Bills didn't pay him. Right? He went to Houston, got paid there, and then from there the Bills went and signed Damian Harris from the New England Patriots. Now, is Damian Harris a better running back than Devin Singletary? I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, is Devin Singletary better than Damian Harris? I also don't think so. They're different backs. They have a different purpose. Is it an improvement for this team, though, that we went and got Damian Harris and replaced Devin Singletary with him? Yes, because now we have a true power back, which Sean McDermott has seemed to have wanted the whole time. They drafted Zach Moss to be the hammer, and he wasn't for us. Now, with Indianapolis last year, the last game of the season, Zach Moss showed some promise within that offense. In our offense, no, absolutely not. But within their offense, he looked good the last game of the season. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what that means, but I do know that he looked pretty solid playing power back. He had over 140 yards, I think, in that game. So, yeah. Greetings, welcome, Kim. Happy Sunday. Welcome back to the show. I think Damian can help Josh out. I agree, and that's why I think it is an upgrade having Damian Harris over Devin Singletary. And it's not because Damian's better or worse, but because Damian brings something different to the table. Damian brings power, and he's faster than Devin. Devin is he is a back who can shake you out of your shoes in a phone booth, right? Damian Harris isn't that guy. Damian Harris, he can juke you, and you know he's not bad at that, but he can also like plow right through you just to get past you, just to get past you, and he's very powerful. So the differences in those two backs, I think, is the upgrade, not necessarily the quality of the two backs. So I think that they're of the same quality. I just think they do different things. So I would say yes, the Bills got better at running back for their own purposes, and fullback is the same guy. So there's nothing to talk about there. Wide receivers, interesting, because the first two guys, wow, Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis. That's our 1 and 2. That was our 1 and 2 last year. The question is our slot. And we've had the slot receiver question partially answered now in the draft when we drafted Dalton Kincaid. We also picked up Trent Sherfield. We also picked up Deontay Hardy. We also have Khalil Shakir. So that slot is going to be up for grabs. And in my opinion, most of the guys I just named are better than Isaiah McKenzie was at receiving. I think Isaiah McKenzie had his place. Jamison Crowder, to me, if he was totally healthy, would have been a godsend to the Bills last year, but he couldn't stay healthy. And so that is why I do believe that the Bills upgraded that slot wide receiver position. We now have guys who can stay healthy. I know Deontay Hardy has some questions in that department, but Khalil Shakir doesn't. Dalton Kincaid doesn't. Trent Sherfield doesn't. So those are three guys who don't have the injury bug in their past. I think that Deontay Hardy can really replace McKenzie's gag playability. He can also catch the ball down the field. So if he's on the field, he's not somebody you're going to take lightly in coverage. And you're just going to assume he's running a gag play or some sort of misdirection or wide receiver screen or anything like that. You're not going to assume that's just some bubble screen or reverse or jet sweep with Deontay Hardy. You're going to look at Deontay Hardy and you're going to believe that I have to defend him honestly. Now, you look at Trent Sherfield, he could be the surprise of all of them because last year, I've said it before in my shows, he took the job of Cedric Wilson, who came from the Cowboys and went to the Dolphins. And when he did so, he was supposed to be the guy in the slot. He was the slot guy between CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup. And now he comes to Miami, right? To this division. He comes to the division, plays in Miami, and gets his spot taken by Trent Sherfield. Trent Sherfield just outplays him and takes his job. So I think Sherfield is a guy who could really take that role. I would like to see Shakir take him because we drafted Khalil Shakir and I really like his promise. But honestly, I don't really care who takes the slot job as long as they're good at it. And if we have multiple guys who are good at it, and all of our guys can play inside and outside. Sherfield can play inside and outside. Diggs, Davis, Shakir. Most of these guys can play inside and out. So, honestly, I think that upgrading the wide receiver room was key. And then you look at Kincaid, who's technically a tight end, but is going to play slot receiver most of the time, play the F spot. To me, that's an upgrade too, because now it gives you an option in the red zone. 6'4", 245 pounds. You're going to have to put a linebacker on him. That's a matchup nightmare. And then if you put a corner on him, all Josh has got to do is throw the ball up high. Dalton can go up and get it. He was a basketball player, so he can jump. I am a full believer that this wide receiver core and tight end room both got better this offseason. I think that they both got better. I think they both improved. Now it's to move to the O-line. And the O-line is definitely a spot that I believe we improved. I believe we improved there quite a bit with depth and starters. First things first, Deion Dawkins last year played pretty freaking good at left tackle. Wasn't his best year, but it certainly wasn't his worst. But he has had better years. But let's go into some comments here. See, I believe Hardy has also played on the outside as a deep threat guy. He has. He has in New Orleans, but he really wasn't supposed to be there. It just happened to work a couple times while he was there, but he's mostly a slot guy. He can play inside and out, but he shouldn't. He's not big enough to be on the outside, D'ing up those big corners. He needs to be on the inside. But back to the O-line stuff. Deion Dawkins, excellent player. I believe that Deion Dawkins is a top, 5 to 10 defensive or left tackle in the NFL. He's a top 10 guy. He's a top 10 tackle in the NFL. And Deion Dawkins is a mainstay on this team. I think that the Bills could potentially extend him to make some cap space for the next year or two. That's very possible. So happy with that position. Don't need to upgrade it. It's fine. If something comes up cheaper and better than Deion and it's absolutely proven, sure. But that's hard as hell to find. That's really hard to find. My man Lance says, I believe. Let's go, baby. I do too. John Roberts says, Hardy is fast. He certainly is. Top 10 for sure. Yep. Probably outside of the top 5, if I'm being honest. I'd say he's around 7th. I'd say around the 7th best tackle in the NFL. What's good with y'all? What's up, man? Welcome back. And Roy, what up, brother? There we go. All right, so happy with Deion Dawkins. It's almost impossible to replace him with a player of his caliber. It's just left tackles just don't hit the market like that. There was one this year, maybe 2, and they got scooped up like that, and they got paid big money. Orlando Brown, as an example, who went from the Chiefs to the Bengals. He jumped ship. He got paid, and he got it on a short-term deal where he can go and get paid again after this deal. That guy, obviously, to me, is looking out for number 1, which is fine. He can look out for number 1. Someone's got to look out for you, so you might as well be the one to do it. But then you go into left guard, the guy who plays right next to Deion Dawkins, which, in my opinion, was a huge hindrance on this offense this past year. It was hindering it for sure. Deion Dawkins had to make up for the bum next to him and Roger Saffold. Roger Saffold is no longer on the team. That, to me, in and of itself, is addition by subtraction. Addition by subtraction, as my man Sauce got in the comments is saying. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Addition by subtraction. You understand? Capiche? Addition by subtraction. So, even if we didn't sign anybody else, if we were to start Ike Bodker after the travesty that was Roger Saffold last year, who somehow made the Pro Bowl, which I've already heard the explanation as to how. If you're an alternate, it's based only upon the player vote. Roger Saffold is respected around the league because of his whole career. We got him at the end of that career, and at one point he was great, but now he's not. He's no longer great. He's no longer even a good guard in the NFL. And there were plays out there where he just looked lost, and he is now gone. He's now gone. And to me, every guard on this roster is an upgrade over him. Whether it's Connor McGovern, who is most likely going to be the guy at left guard. Most likely it's going to be Connor McGovern, right? Connor McGovern is not a great run blocking guard. He's not a great run blocker. He is, however, pretty freaking good at pass blocking. And so Connor going out there to be the blocker on the left side, which is the blind side of Josh Allen, his more important skill is going to be pass blocking. Right? That's your side of the ball, whereas Josh's blind side. You want to protect that side. Having Roger Saffold miss his guy all the time, bad idea, bad news. Connor's going to be a baller at left guard. I hope so. He graded in the 70s at PFF last year when it came to pass blocking. his run blocking was in the 40s though, so that's not really an improvement in that department. But I don't think that's what he's here for. I don't think that's what he's here for. Popularity contest for alternates. It's a popularity contest for everybody, really. I mean, a couple years ago, Lamar Jackson got hurt, right? And Josh Allen had the best year of his career. I think it was 2020, and Lamar made it over Josh, and I was like, "What is going on here?" So there's that. And then Josh was an alternate, and he turned it down. So good for you, Josh, standing on your morals, your principles. Now he's turning on Pro Bowl no matter what, so he can go heal up. Even though now it's flag football, I think he should go out there and have fun one of these years, just to go do it. But you're looking at that spot, even if it's just like Butker, to me that's an improvement. Roger Saffold is just too old. He's done. Now, you look at center. The center spot kind of gets an upgrade in the backup department, really, with the return of Ike Butker, right? You bring in Osiris Torrance on the right guard spot, so I'm going to combine these two here. And you now have a battle at right guard between Ryan Bates and Osiris Torrance and David Edwards. Who's going to win that job? In my opinion, it's most likely going to be Osiris Torrance. He's your big mauler from Florida who's going to come in there and create the run lanes on the right side of the ball. You may even see him pull to help McGovern on the other side. Granted, he won't be pulling to go all the way across the formation because he's not that type of guy. He's not that agile. He's not going to be pulling and doing things like I forget who that old guard we had that was really good at pulling, but he's not one of those guys who's going to be able to pull all the way across the formation. He might be able to pull across past the center and then, get a guy to open up a lane. But that's just what he's going to be doing. Ryan Bates can play every spot on the line. I think that Ryan Bates should make this team, but he's a potential trade candidate. You also have David Edwards, who came from the Rams, who's played in the Cromer system, won a Super Bowl with the Rams. He's a potential guy who can come in if Torrance isn't ready. And if you want to move on from Bates, I don't know if that's the case. But, yeah, it's really going to be interesting to see how this right guard spot plays out. But either way, you upgraded it by bringing in competition. That, to me, is very important. Torrance had no sacks all season either. Torrance did not allow a sack his entire college career. Yeah, his entire career at Louisiana and Florida, 0 sacks allowed. He is a mammoth, a mauler of a man. My one concern with him is if they try asking him to pull. I'm not worried about pass blocking, clearly. No sacks allowed his entire college career. I'm not concerned about his run blocking because the man is a plow, right? And what better place to go than Buffalo if you're a plow? It's a beautiful thing. So Torrance is most likely the right guard candidate. In my opinion, that's who's probably going to start. Roy says, don't forget we also re-signed Greg Mans for a center. That's true. And that is the guy who could potentially make Ryan Bates expendable in trade. Right? The Bears wanted him last year. We signed him instead. PFF-wise, he grades out in the 60s, I believe, in every category. So when it comes down to center, it may be time to look into not having players with such flexibility that they can play the whole line. They say the jack of all trades is a master of none. It's actually a longer saying than that, but the way we use it today is that. But Ryan Bates is a good backup. He could back all those guys up. And what makes him most likely to stay on the team is that, because then you can carry only 8 linemen rather than having to carry 9 or 10. You can just carry 8, have one backup guard, one backup tackle, and then he can play whatever position else is needed. Center, blase. Yeah, he was 59 in run blocking, 61.5 in pass blocking, and 61.8 overall. So Ryan Bates is solid guy. Here we go. Love Bates as center than Morse. You like more Bates? Okay, so you like Bates more as a center than you do Morse. And I'm guessing it's because of Morse's injuries, because Morse's injuries are concerning. The thing is, if you have Bates on the roster, I think that Morse is the better center, but the injury concerns are real. But as long as you have Bates on the team, it's not really that big a concern. Because if Morse gets hurt, you shift Bates over to the center, no harm, no foul, and we just keep on rolling. So I do like Bates as a center. I just think that I think Morse is the better player there. I think that, but if he's hurt, who cares, right? You're not better at anything if you're hurt. Water is good, people. Drink water. All right. So, and then we move on from the center guard spot, right? The interior offensive line. You move to the right tackle spot, which is really a big concern because last year it was a struggle there too. Spencer Brown comes off surgery on his back, doesn't get to play any preseason games, doesn't get to do anything in training camp, doesn't get to do anything in OTAs because of that back surgery. And they really don't bring any competition in for him until after the draft, right? And Brandon Beane said it himself, you know, people were panicking about after the draft, but, you know, roster building is 12 months. So before the draft, after the draft, during the season, after the season, so on and so forth. It's 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365, right? There's somebody waiting for a call for a free agent or a trade partner to make a move. And that's just the reality of that you have to really just appreciate the honesty that comes with Brandon Beane is that, 24/7, 365, I got to be ready to make moves. Roster building is all the time. And now, as my man in the comments here says, now they have Shell for backup. So Shell has starting experience in the NFL. Shell is not a bad player. And the thing I like about him is he can go in there and he can play without any much drop off from what we've seen from Spencer Brown as of right now. It wouldn't be a drop off from what we've seen already. Also, right tackle, Josh is much more able to get away from defensive lineman coming from the right side because it's not his blind side. He can make a move quicker. So I think that is a pretty good thing. Also, Shell in the run game, run blocking 75.9 grade for PFF, pass blocking 51.7. Not as worried about the pass blocking grade on the right side. Again, if they get through, Josh can move. So there's that. Let's see. And he only allowed 2 sacks last year and 8 hits. So take that for what it's worth. Bigger concern, Brown at RT or name a player, MLB. Ooh. Bigger concern right now is the middle linebacker spot, no doubt. As of right now, that's the bigger concern because we have 2 guys who can play right tackle. So, not worried. 3 guys if you count Bates. Started 11 games last season. That's pretty good. In 11 games, that's not bad. Especially for a backup. He's a backup, so he started 11 games. And his numbers right there, 2 sacks allowed, 4 QB hits. That's not bad at all. 4 penalties in 11 games. That's pretty good. So I think that his prospects on this team are solid. They're solid. All right, so now we're done with the offensive line. Let's move to the defensive line. And I think that we have obviously improved the defensive line this year. I don't think there's a question about it. Von Miller says he's healthy, 100%, and does not expect to be on the PUP list for training camp or the preseason. So if that's true, then he's back. That's already an upgrade from the end of last year. Bringing Von Miller back, then you have Rousseau, Boogie Basham, AJ Epinesa, sneaky good year last year. Shaq, solid year last year, good for depth. Then you bring in Shane Ray on the flyer. A lot of people were really excited about that. I'm excited about it for the opportunity that Shane Ray had earned. He earned an opportunity. He went up to the CFL, played up there for a while, got picked up by the Bills after being out of the league for a while. And I think that's a wonderful thing that says that, you have a path back to redemption. Do I think he's going to make our roster? I have no idea. But as of right now, the answer would be no. Because they brought in Leonard Floyd, which is a vast improvement over all those guys except Rousseau and Vaughn. So that pushes the other guys down the list. And again, Epinesa had 7 sacks last year, 6.5, but it's freaking 7. He was in on one more. So I think that someone like, and there goes Roy in the comments, just getting ahead of me. Shane Ray will be lucky to make the practice squad. Shane Ray is lucky to be on the roster at all. So that's that. But his hard work and dedication got him there. I think it's possible he gets there. I think it's more likely that we cut Boogie and move him to the practice squad, or we trade Boogie. To me, of Von Miller, Greg Rousseau, Floyd, Epinesa, Boogie, and Shaq. If we're keeping 5, Boogie to me is the odd man out. He easily had the worst year of all of them. Some people told me that they don't think he had enough opportunities to play, but he had 250 snaps, 243 snaps, something like that. So I think it was 243, exact number. That's like 30 fewer snaps than Shaq Lawson, I think it was. Or AJ Epinesa. 30 fewer snaps than AJ Epinesa. That's not an opportunity. He had his chances. He only had 2 sacks. And to me, that he'd be the odd man out. Granted, I do like Boogie, but I don't like you enough to let other players go. Well, we'll see him in camp and we'll see him in the preseason. If he can win the job, he can win the job. I hope so. He's a growing, maturing man, and McDermott's philosophy is third year is it for any player to show you who they are, or who they can be. So if it's going to happen, it's going to happen this year. We'll see in camp. We'll see in the preseason. But I think that the Bills' defensive end room got better, clearly, just by bringing in Floyd and having Vaughn back. Way, way, way better. Let me know on who. Did he sack Josh, or did he sack Barkley, or did he sack Kyle? But yeah, I think that defensive end room way better. Defensive tackle room, right? We had complaints after last year that when excuse me, I'll refill my water cup here. That when Daquan Jones went down, there was a vast difference in the way the defensive line played. So what do? You bring in Puna Ford, another big guy, to play one technique with him. Now you have a backup one technique. I don't know who the backup's going to be, if it's going to be Puna or Daquan. Statistically, last year, Daquan was better in every single category than Puna, but Puna was put in a position to in a position to fail, honestly, as a position of or in his position with the Seahawks. He went from one defensive scheme to another, and it just didn't go well. Didn't go well at all for him. And I feel for the guy because, it's your last year there. You're trying to do your best so you can go get paid. It doesn't work out. He found a spot now with the Bills to try and show what his skills are. If he can dethrone Daquan Jones as the number 1 DT1, then fine. Otherwise, he'll be the backup there. And if Daquan Jones goes down, we have a solid guy to come in and help Ed Oliver be the best Ed Oliver he can be. Because Ed Oliver, last year when he was playing well, even though he had a bum ankle and a torn pectoral at one point, or partially torn pec, he was out there. He made himself available even though he was hurt. And he played his best ball when he had Daquan Jones next to him. So I think that's very important. Also, Ed was double-teamed a lot more than we think, and I think that's because Daquan Jones wasn't always out there. He played right around 50% of the snaps, and not all of them were with Ed. And so whenever that happens, you're going to have Ed get double-teamed instead of Jordan Phillips or instead of Tim Settle or whoever's out there next to him. And so that, to me, speaks volumes. BMF says Boogie is okay. Many said the same about Epinesa. They did, but Epinesa had more sacks in the years prior than Boogie did. Oh, need water. But we'll see. I'm not against anybody right now. This is just my opinion currently. My opinion can and will be changed by the way players play out. Last year, before the season started, I was super high on Roger Saffold. I was wrong. I was very wrong. I'm not afraid to admit that I'm wrong. I'm not afraid to admit that I said what I said. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm with you here. You are correct about this. Many said the same about Epinesa, but Epinesa's first 2 years were better than Boogie's first 2 years. Oliver's looking to push for 10 sacks this year. It's $500,000 in his pocket. He said he needs that. Hey, who doesn't need $500,000? I'll take $500,000. $500,000 would help me more than it helps Ed, in my opinion. But you know what? If Ed wants that money and it's going to make him work harder, go get it. Oliver will be amazing with a one tech next to him. When Vaughn is happy, you cannot double team all these players. That's true. If you have Ed, coming downhill, you have Vaughn, you have Rousseau. And if Vaughn's not out there or Rousseau's not out there, you have Leonard Floyd out there. That is a line of dogs. Plus, Shaq last year played pretty freaking well. I like it. And Epinesa as a pass rusher. I mean, Shaq played mostly to stop the run on rundowns where people they anticipated to be run. Shaq was in there. On plays where they anticipated to be pass, AJ was in there, and they both kind of shined within those roles. So I like those two players right there, sort of a yin and yang contrast to each other to be able to help this team. Boogie knows he has to be. I'm having a hard time reading this. Boogie knows he has to put up good numbers this year. He already knows his days are numbered. He said it in an article. Yeah, as well he should. I expected more of Tim Settle. So Tim Settle's a big heart guy, right? He's got like the heart of Doug Flutie, but he doesn't have the talent. Epinesa played 30% of the snaps. I thought it was like 38%. I thought it was closer to that. I can pull it up. That's no big deal. AJ Epinesa, Pro Football Reference. But on snap counts, 2022, he played 38% of the snaps, according to Pro Football Reference. So closer to 40. C. If they get rid of AJ, he is tradable because his 6.5 sacks last season in 7 games. Correct. Look, AJ could be a trade candidate if they, want to clear up some space, and it's a little bit of money for him too. He's a second-round pick, so he's on the higher side of the pay scale for rookies. He's not in the first-round pick side, but he's in the higher side. It's probably a couple $1 million tied up in him this year. Autocorrect acting crazy. See, Oliver is looking to push for 10 sacks in the season. He said, okay, yep, already read that one. 38%. There we go. All right, so now we're back to defensive tackle. I think the Puna Ford edition, because other than that, the defensive tackle room didn't really change. Most of the positions in our team didn't really change, but they brought in 11 players after the draft. A lot of those guys are here for depth or practice squad or for camp bodies. Honestly, if you're just going to be honest about it, that's what it is. Camp bodies, practice squad filling, and depth. And the depth on this team got better. Just look at that defensive tackle room. If they wanted to move on from Tim Settle, they could, because now you can have Jordan Phillips just purely as a backup to Ed Oliver for passing downs. Ed Oliver's last year, his numbers were better in rushing situations, in running situations. He played well against the run, but not as well as he could have with the one tech out there. You bring in Puna again, just that one player in the third spot, right? Because it's Ed, then Daquan, and then Puna, and then Settle and Phillips are somewhere over here doing this whole flip-flop thing. And BMF says Settle needs to improve his strength. Improve his strength, Oliver's level. I'm not sure what he means by Oliver's level, but I agree with the first part. Settle needs to improve his strength. He needs to hit that weight room. Need to get stronger. I love his personality. I love what he brings to the team in the locker room, but Settle really needs to get his stuff together physically. What do you think about that CB we brought in from Minnesota? I actually thought that was a very good move, and we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Oliver was also playing with an ankle injury part of the season. Was he not? Yes, and a pectoral injury. He had a partially torn pec, and he sprained his ankle early on. He missed during the Dolphins game, the first one. He sprained his ankle. He was out for a couple weeks. He didn't play the whole season last year. Andrew Jones, most def got better. So a keyword for this defensive line, healthy. We cannot miss Ed for multiple games. If we do miss Ed for a couple of games, I'm okay with a couple of games. It's just a couple of games. If it's like 7, that's tough. That's tough. Was Settle injured last season? I don't believe so. He just, doesn't have the skills. He's got the heart to do it, though. That's why he even the reason why he's able to do what he does at the level he's doing it, which isn't a super high level, but it's an NFL level. So who the hell am I to talk? But Settle last season, it's all his heart. He's got the motor. He's got the drive, the cardio. He's got that stuff. But the physical strength and the speed and the technique isn't all there. It can be developed, but it's not all there. Oliver had a lot of pressures last year. Oliver did have a lot of pressures last year. Oliver, let's see, pull him up real quick. I went over this last week because I compared him and Tremaine. For those of you who were here, you guys remember, I hope. And for those of you who didn't, but he had 31 pressures last year, 11 QB hits, 16 hurries, and 4 sacks. And that was in, I think, 14 games or 15 games. So, yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. He was tied for 8th in forced fumbles. He was tied for 5th in assisted tackles and 56th in solo tackles. But, defensive tackle, it is what it is. Not Your Average Podcast and the 716 Miss T. How do the cuts work this year? Is it a big cut this year? I'm not sure, honestly. I think it is a big cut at the very end. You hold everybody until the last week of the preseason, and then that bye week, you make all your cuts. I don't think that it's, 3 cuts like usual. Oliver was actually in a walking boot last season for a little while. Yeah. The ankle injury and the pec, they hindered him some. Also, the revolving door at 1 tech. So, but we've broken that down already. They went and they got a guy to settle that 1 tech spot. He can actually play 1 and 3, but he's more of a 1 in this defense. Then you have the other 2 guys who can play both spots, but mostly in passing downs. I like the way that they did that. I like what they did there. They also brought in DJ Dale from the University of Alabama as a undrafted rookie free agent who is really good against the run at Alabama. So if you're in the SEC and you're really good against the run, it's not a bad thing to do. You can rotate him in on 3rd and 1, and he can go in there and just try and stop the rusher. That's not bad at all. That's a good player to have for a specific role. Put him on the practice squad. You let him chill there. And then in a game where someone's injured or has something nagging, you can deactivate that person, activate DJ Dale, and see how he plays out there. I think DJ Dale is a sneaky guy to make the practice squad and potentially make some noise during the season if somebody happens to get hurt. So I do like DJ Dale. I didn't know much about him after the draft. I had to go and look him up, and he's a little undersized, like Ed, but not quite that undersized. Shorter arms, but yeah, I like it. Here we go. So August 29th is the big cut down date from 90 to 53. Yep, so I was correct. It is indeed 1 big cut instead of all that. I don't know if that makes it easier or harder. I guess they'll find out, because, some people say you do it in waves and it's hard that way because you have a guy that you didn't get that much of a look at. So I hope that this is going to be easier, but the decision-making is going to be tough. And I think that you'll probably see teams cutting players before that day, like maybe up to 5 days before that day, just to be like, okay, we know he's not staying. We know he's not staying. We know he's not staying. We know he's not. And they'll just kind of do that as that week goes on. And then you'll see the massive dump of talent that happens. I mean, Joey Hatch Jr., what's good, brother? Go Bills. And hard no matter what. Yeah, it is hard no matter what, because that 53rd man that Brendan Bean's always talked about. It's tough. But now we're going to move on to linebackers. And losing Tremaine Edmonds, that's just like Roger Saffold, man. It's addition by subtraction. I'm kidding. Tremaine Edmonds is a outstanding linebacker. He isn't great. He's also not bad at all. He's just indecisive against the run, excellent in coverage, but he's not quick. He's fast, but he's not quick. And I think that's why they got rid of him. I spoke about this, I think, last week as well. You bring in guys like Dorian Williams and Terrell Bernard, and you bring them in here. Why? Because you want quicker, twitchier linebackers to be able to move around the field faster. Linebackers coach, the rock star, Bobby Babich Jr., he mentioned that. You want two cover linebackers or two matchup linebackers out there. And Tremaine Edmonds would have a hard time with a Travis Kelce. He'd have a hard time with a slot receiver just because he's so big, even though he's fast. He doesn't get up to speed that fast. I think that, that's going to be something that's key. Now, I do like me some Tremaine Edmonds. If we kept him, I wouldn't have been mad. But I'm also not mad that we didn't. So that's what I feel on that. But that is a big fat question mark, whether we got better at linebacker. That's a huge question mark. Is it likely we got better? No. It's likely that Terrell Bernard or Dorian Williams are going to need time. Now, is it possible that they are better? It's possible. It's possible. Likely, no. Am I really that concerned with it? Not really, because I see us running a little more dime this year. I can see us running a little bit more dime. You go out there and you put Taylor Rapp as the dime back, which is basically just another nickel back on the other side. And you could see him playing linebacker. I could definitely see him playing some linebacker next to Milano in 4-2-5 sets. I could see him out there if they know it's gonna be a pass. It's 4th and 14, and this team needs to get the first down, and I can see him sticking Taylor Rapp out there to be a middle safety. Totally possible. Let's see. So middle linebacker will be situational by committee. I don't think so. You don't want your middle linebacker to be a committee position. You want your middle linebacker to be settled. They may, throw somebody out there. Matt Milano may assume the middle linebacker role in certain situations, which he did with Tremaine Edmonds here. There were times where Matt Milano was the mic. You could hear quarterbacks yelling, 58's the mic, 58's the mic. Call meaning Matt Milano is the middle linebacker in that position. Do I think that happens a lot? No, I don't think that happens a lot. I think that if you're running a Milano and Rapp at linebacker, you're going to see Milano assume that middle linebacker role and Rapp, that weak side spot. But in most situations, when you actually do have actual linebackers out there, you're going to see Milano in his weak side role, which he won first team All-Pro doing this past year. But you don't want to have a committee at middle linebacker. That guy's supposed to call your defense. I read Terrell is in the lead. I'm not worried about who's in the lead. What I am worried about, though, is that they're good. I don't care if it's Terrell, Dorian Williams. I like both those athletes, so we'll see. See, middle linebacker battle is interesting. Yes, it will be interesting. See, Williams is definitely faster in coverage. He's definitely faster in coverage than Tremaine, as is Terrell Bernard. They both ran the same speed. I believe they both ran. No, Terrell Bernard's faster. Terrell Bernard ran a 4.42, and Dorian Williams ran a 4.49. So, yeah, that's the speed between Williams and Terrell is not the same, but that is track speed. So you could be totally right that Dorian Williams is faster in coverage than Terrell Bernard. Game speed and track speed, totally different things. See, I can see a 3 safety dime. I can see that too. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I used to be able to make phone call with the dime. How old are you? Klein did a great job in Milano's place, pushing Kelce at the. So that's an experience thing. That's an experience thing. 40.1. I don't know what that means. All right. So moving on from linebackers, because it's all up in the air. We don't really know. Most of the guys are the same. Balin Spector, Tyler Medikevich, Terrell Bernard, Dorian Williams is new. He's really the only new guy. Matt Milano's obviously still here. AJ Klein, I don't know if I said his name, but we already know he's not starting. He's basically a consultant at linebacker, who I think is ultimately going to be on the practice squad. We'll see if Matakevich makes the team. I'm not sure he will, but I'm honestly not sure. I'm going to say no, that this spot was not an improvement. 59 and feel every bit of it. Yeah, it probably was a quarter for you then. I'll be 39 this year, so yeah, you're a little bit older than me, my buddy, but happy to have you around. Appreciate you listening to me. You know, not a lot of people who are older than me like that are going to listen to me and be able to, you know, give me feedback without being like young whippersnapper. But yeah, no, I appreciate you, Roy. So did you see that the doctors said that Von Miller is all healed up? I did see that. I mentioned that earlier in the show. That Von Miller said that he's all healed up. His doctor said he's all healed up. He's got to make the transition to stop rehabbing and start going back into being a football player. Were Von's words, I believe, or something like that. He said that, you know, I gotta stop rehabbing now and start training. Luckily, still OTAs. Luckily, he already knows the defense, and luckily, he's got plenty of time to continue to recover. So if it's week 1 with Von, cool. You know, with all the guys we have now, you can actually lower his snap count, right? Because we need him in the playoffs. I don't give a damn about the regular season if we're not going to have him in the playoffs. Give me playoff Von. I want playoff Von. I want Super Bowl Von. That's what I want. Go Bills. Go Bills, bro. Love you. Don't forget to call your nephew. It's his birthday. By the way, everybody, my son turned 17 today. That's my little guy. We took him out to dinner, Mexican food, and he was happy with that. Let me see if I have a picture. Let me show you guys. Yep, I took a picture at dinner. Right here. That's my boy. And it's his 17th birthday today, so call your nephew, Choppy. He'll be back week 8. I doubt it'll be week 8. I think it'll be closer to week 6. But he's talking about week 1, so we'll see. Do you think we can see Von Miller at linebacker, or is he not that kind of linebacker? So he's not really that kind of linebacker. He may be able to play that spot if absolutely needed, but no, he's not a coverage guy. He can drop in coverage a little bit, but he's not covering elite tight ends or you know, running backs. Again, he can do a little bit of that, but it's not his forte. Love your show, Izzy. I can still learn things even from young guys. That's true. You know, we all can. I learn from my kid every day. That kid teaches me something new every day. He hits me upside the head with some knowledge that I didn't know. That guy I just showed you guys. So, yeah, I understand. See, Insider thinks Elam is going to be a beast against fast cornerbacks. Thoughts? I hope so, but my thoughts are Elam's going to have to show it to me. You know, last year he looked like he got better throughout the season. We'll see what happens. But as of right now, I need to see it. My lady T says, happy birthday to your son. Thank you, T. I'd say Dawson. Traven Howard as middle linebacker. Traven Howard. Oh, yeah, I forgot we picked him up. I'm not sure I see them taking that role, but they could. You know, they got their shot. They have to go out there and get it. Happy birthday to your son. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are great. It doesn't say anything. Nope. See, Sports Illustrated said he had a sneaky good season last year in Buffalo. I don't know who you're talking about, buddy. Your two previous things didn't say anything. See, 1 and 2, they just empty. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move on to defensive backs, which are safeties and corners, as you guys know, and we'll just group those all together because we're gonna see some overlap, I think, with our safeties and our corners. All right. So again, at the top, it's the same thing. Hang on, here we go. Oh no, he definitely had a sneaky good year last year. As the year went on, and he started to pick up the zone scheme from coming from Florida, where he played mostly man coverage because he's an SEC. Elam played better down the stretch. He even had an interception on Patrick Mahomes in the end zone. Pretty sure it was Patrick Mahomes. It was either him or Lamar Jackson. I'm pretty sure it was Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, Elam had a sneaky good year last year. I think that he will get better, but he's got to show it to me. I got to see it. Now, we are at corner, right? And Trey White is back in camp. I hear he looks phenomenal. And that is important because he's been phenomenal before. And we know that since he's done it, he's capable of it. And last year, that mental hurdle of having to come back from that knee injury, and everything else that happened last year, the team looked drained, and he just didn't look like himself. But from what I understand in camp, he's looking a whole lot like the Trey White that we know. And so Tre'Davious White, salute, brother. I hope you come back, kick ass, and get that all team again. T has now confirmed that it was Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Curious to see how McDermott will use rap. That I'm gonna get into that. Elam took on Hill very well, and so Elam actually played some man against Hill, which I would say is impressive. But that's really what Elam came from, so he knows how to do that. The impressive part is he's able to keep up with Hill. But as I said from those playoffs where the Chiefs went to the Super Bowl, or the Bengals went to the Super Bowl beating the Chiefs, their corners were 4-4 guys, and they were able to keep up with Hill and hold them down in that Chiefs game. And the Bills weren't because our guys were 4-6, almost 4-7 guys. You don't have to match somebody's speed for speed, but if you got good speed, you can keep up. That's all you got to do. Because if the quarterback doesn't place the ball perfectly in front of him, then there's room for error. And if there's room for error, there's room for you to go up and get it. And that's what happened. Those corners in Cincinnati did that. Eli Apple and Awuzie did their thing in that championship game. Last year, they lost. That's cool, but I'm really looking to see what Elam can do. Again, Trey White, though, he's in there. Safeties, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are back, baby. We re-signed Poyer. I can see them extending Hyde by 1 year. Then behind them, you have Taylor Rapp, and you have Damar Hamlin. Damar Hamlin coming off of last year, scary incident, right? Fully cleared, fully healthy. And last year he was our safety 3. He's now our safety 4, depending on the role that Tyler Rapp plays. Because I think Tyler Rapp is going to play safety, corner, and linebacker in this scheme for the Bills. He will be our dime back in most cases. He's going to be our third safety. So if we're running 6 DBs, which is technically dime, but we run 3 safeties and 3 corners, he'll be out there. If you're going to run 4-2-5, but you believe it's passing, he could be playing that weak side linebacker spot that Matt Milano plays, which is technically still make him a dime player in that position if you count him as a DB on that play. But I digress. I think that you're going to see Taylor Rapp play similar position to Taron Johnson, which is basically our strong side linebacker in these plays. He's going to have a role. He's going to have a role, and I think that Taylor Rapp can really find himself in this defense. And I think that Taylor Rapp is really going to kind of be that Micah Hyde that was in Green Bay, that plays everywhere on the defense. I really like that. I really, really like that. And John Roberts said here something similar to that, or maybe that's the one I was answering. But I think, yeah, Taylor Rapp is going to be interesting. Izzy, in the past couple of years, we talked about missing speed on the back end. I love Hyde and Poyer, but the lack of speed on the back end still worries me. We don't. So my worry about lack of speed wasn't at safety, right? Most safeties aren't that fast. My where I was talking about lack of speed was at corner. We had Dane Jackson who ran a 4.62. We had Levi Wallace who ran a 4.68. Those guys are slow. Taron Johnson's 40 time, from what I remember, wasn't bad. I think it was 4.54. If I remember correctly. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Taron Johnson out of Weber State. Johnson 40 time. 4.5 flat. Okay, so close enough. With a 4.28 20-yard shuttle. So he's built for that spot at slot. All right, so moving on. Damar Hamlin is actually practicing now with helmet on. Great sign. I'm so happy for Damar Hamlin. With all that happened to him, I'm very happy for him, and I appreciate the love and support that we Bills fans, my fellow Bills fans, fans across the country gave to him, the extra love that the country gave to him after that happened. It really shined a light on him. It shined a light on Buffalo. It gave, some national attention to the Bills that was positive after something really negative, which we hadn't had all year. All year it was negative stuff. The shooting, the freaking passing of Luke Knox, the 2 snowstorms that killed 30 people. Like that there was nothing positive that came after any of that stuff. You can say, like, after the shooting, like, the city of Buffalo was united, and still there was nothing positive after that. Damar Hamlin's making appearances on The Masked Singer with his kid brother Demir. He's making appearances on the news. He's going to see the president. Whether you like this president or not, doesn't matter if you like him or not. He went to go see the president, and that's important. And it really shined a light on Buffalo and gave us something positive in the end, which I'm happy about. I'm really glad for that. So, yeah. What is your assessment of Hamlin's play last year? Hamlin's play last year to me was satisfactory. Now, I know what you're thinking. Satisfactory sounds bad. It's not. For a guy starting his first year at safety as a 7th-round pick in his second season in the NFL, he filled in for Micah Hyde admirably. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. He was where he was supposed to be most of the time. He was a solid tackler. He was solid in coverage. He wasn't great at anything. He wasn't bad at anything. He just was good enough to play. He was good enough to start. And I think that he could probably be good enough to start somewhere else. But, again, I don't think he's great. I think that he played admirably in Micah Hyde's stead. Rapp is one of the sneaky good signings of the offseason. According to an article I read, he did not leave a starting role to sit the bench. I agree with that. Also, with Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde being their age, and Micah Hyde's neck injuries, maybe he doesn't resign again. This may be his swan song. So you bring in Tyler Rapp for a year, you evaluate him, and if he's your guy, you re-sign him to be your next Micah Hyde. That could be what's going on here. I don't think that he's here to do that either. I think that he is going to be the guy who, again, takes the slot or the weak side linebacker role in certain scenarios, the dime role. He's going to be that guy. He'll even fill in for those guys on occasion when they get tired, so they don't have to play 100% of the snaps like they usually have. Those guys are getting old. They're going to need some breaks. So you put in Snap or Rapp to go out there and take some of that edge off of them. Give them a little bit of rest, right? If one of them has a nagging injury, like, one of them stubs their damn toe, you can say, you know what, Micah, sit down this week. We'll just go ahead and go with Taylor. You have a guy out there who can start in the NFL, who's won a Super Bowl as a starter in the NFL, who held it down in that Super Bowl against the Bengals, by the way. He's got experience against the Bengals. That's another thing right there. Rapp to cover Kelsey. It's possible. I don't know if Rapp's big enough. I also don't know his full dimensions off the top of my head. But, yeah, it could be. See, Bills bet against the Dolphins might be to double team Hill and keep White one-on-one with Waddle. So I don't even think you have to double team Hill. Again, last year, Elam manned up Hill and took his lunch. Hill had 3 catches for 30 yards in that game? That's nothing. Let me go ahead and look that up now. Bills versus Dolphins. And that's the first game. We lost that game. Waddle had a catch for a touchdown, but he was being beat up by Dane Jackson, I think, and he got cooked. 2022. So, in this game here, no, not that. Player stats. Dolphins. Tyreek Hill in this game had 2 catches for 33 yards. Waddle had 4 for 102. Elam did a good job against him. See, every team did something for Damar Hamlin, and they all wore number 3 T-shirts and patches. Yeah, I saw that. That was awesome. Damar Hamlin started the CPR campaign in Buffalo recently. Check it out, folks. I did hear about that too. Yeah, a lot of that money that he got, that was it $10 million or so, which is more than his contract. He donated to CPR funds and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a beautiful gesture by Damar Hamlin. And I think that people donating did a beautiful thing for him. And he paid it forward, which is the best thing you can do. See, 1,000 people showed up. Jesus, let's go. That's 1,000 more people out there that know how to do CPR. That's awesome. And yeah, if Elam can cover Hill, he is the real deal. Well, that's man to man. You got to remember, he's got to be able to play the rest of this defensive scheme, unless they decide to move to like that old school New York Jets scheme where it was mostly zone, but then you had Revis on the island and everybody else kind of covered the field that they had, and then Revis was just the guy out there. So if he can become Darrelle Revis, then yeah, but he's going to have to do that in order to, be the real deal as a man guy. He's going to have to learn how to do zone coverage as well. But we break down the rest of the moves here, right? Talking about Elam and Rapp and Hyde and Poyer and Tre'Davious. It's time to look at the guys behind them. We already covered DeMar too. The guys behind them, Taron Johnson, who we already talked about too, slot guy. He's the guy there, right? There's no question. But you got Dane Jackson, Christian Benford, who are both challenging our guy Kyer Elam for that starting cornerback job to begin the season. And, they're both doing well in camp. I'd say Benford seems like he's a bit ahead, but Elam is looking like he's going to be the starter. Alex Austin, who you brought in, who I think could make this team over Dane Jackson. Personally, I think that he possibly could. I haven't heard much about him in camp, but we'll see. And when training camp starts, it's a different animal. It'll be in Rochester, and hopefully I can get up there and see. Let me see. Dean Milo. Honestly, don't know who that is. I just looked it up, and it's like a murder thing that popped up, so I'm not sure. See, Benford played well until his injury. Yeah. We had a lot of injuries at corner last year. Had a lot of them. So I heard Benford practice at safety also. He is practicing at safety also. That's what I'm saying before, is that you'll see a lot of crossover. You may see, someone like Benford end up at safety, but then Rapp is in the slot. And like, what's going on here? But they're going to be mixing and matching a lot. I think they're going to be way more creative on defense, and you'll see some changes. I think this defensive unit is going to be really good. It's going to be really legit. The hard part is going to be getting around that middle linebacker spot if it's not good. But if it's good, if Terrell Bernard is good, not great, but just good at middle linebacker, not worried. Not worried at all. Or if it's freaking what's his name? Dorian Williams. If either one of them gets in there, starts, and is good, cool. Then you go back to defensive back, though, which we were just talking about. They brought in Cameron Dantzler from the Vikings. Now, in the first couple years when he was there, he was under Mike Zimmer, or at least the first year. Under Mike Zimmer, and he played well. Pretty well. He hasn't really played bad his entire career, but he didn't get signed up for this next year, and I think that it was in a cap-saving move by the Vikings. Cam Dantzler is a guy who I actually wanted the Bills to draft if he would have lasted into the fourth round, but I believe he was a second-round pick. So, no, he's a third-round pick. So he didn't make it quite to where I wanted, but he was close. Overall grade last year, 63, run defense 55, and coverage 64.7. That's not bad. It's not bad at all. Yards per reception allowed, 10.2. He didn't have any interceptions. So last year looks like it was a down year for him from what I can remember, right? We go to the year before, 2021. Overall grade, 73.8. Run defense, 90.9. And coverage, 66 or 67.6. He had a down year this year. That's all that is, really. If you look at the rest of the years, his rookie season, 70.9, run defend grade, 68.5, coverage, 69.8. He's close to 70 in his coverage grade every year. His lowest year was this past year, and that was a 64.7. And to me, that's a coaching thing. That's not a Cam Dantzler problem. To me, Cam Dantzler's issue was coaching this past year because that Vikings defense took a huge step back. It was terrible. That Vikings defense was horrible. I don't know how they won 13 games with such a piss poor defense. I think Cam Dantzler is sneakily here in Buffalo to resurrect his career, and he could be fighting for a job, even if it's a practice squad spot. I think that was a sneaky good signing, Cam Dantzler. And so when I saw we picked him up, I actually got a little excited, but then I was like, calm yourself a little bit, bring it down just a notch and look into him. And I was right. I was right to be excited about him. Does that mean I'm going to be right that he's going to come in here, take someone's job, and be the future at that position? I have no idea. But I think that he's worth taking a look at, especially for the price. And if he turns out to be that guy, then you took the minimal risk for the maximum reward. And that's how you build teams in the NFL. You go out there, you take minimal risk, and hopefully reap the benefits of the maximum reward, because every single player that comes into the NFL has the potential to be that maximum reward, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, no matter what. Victor Cruz, minimum risk with the New York Giants, maximum reward. What happened? Undrafted rookie free agent out of Massachusetts, I think it was, UMass. Look what happened. One of the better wide receivers for the Giants the last 20 years. Just really good career. Won 2 Super Bowls, I think it was, with the Giants. Good for Victor Cruz. Who's another guy? Antonio Brown. Was he a 5th or 6th round pick? Minimum risk. Levi Wallace for us. He wasn't great, but he was good enough for what we were doing at the time. He wasn't going to be a number 1, but he was good enough to man that number 2 spot down and hold it down for a while. Minimal risk as an undrafted rookie free agent. Maximum reward. We got the best out of him. He went to the Steelers and did not look good. He also got hurt. So I hope Levi Wallace gets a speedy recovery. But I think that Cam Dantzler in this defense, he's more of a zone guy. Zone blitz with Mike Zimmer. There was a lot of zone blitzing going on there. And he blitzed a lot, apparently, because his run stopping grade was pretty freaking good in the years prior. I mean, go back to 2021. His run defense grade was 90.9. I think Cam Dantzler is a guy who makes this team better. That's my opinion on that. Again, then you have the other 3 guys: Dane Jackson, Christian Benford, Levi Wallace. Wow, Alex Austin. If there's anybody else at the position, I don't think that they have much of a chance to make the team. You're too stacked at the top. Trey White, Kyer Elam, Taron Johnson, now Cam Dantzler, and the last 2 corner spots, there's 4 or 5 guys there. I think that between Dane Jackson, Alex Austin, Christian Benford, and that's it, right? So, yeah. After those first 4 guys who I think are probably going to make the team, 2 of those guys make it. And I think Dane Jackson is going to be the odd man out. Or no. Yeah. So there's that. What's up, guys? How you doing, buddy? Welcome to the chat. Say minimum risk, maximum reward. Tom Brady. He was a 6th round pick, actually. He was the last pick in the 6th round at 199. But you're fine bringing up the name. He's no longer a Patriot. Old wounds, they last a while. They scar a little bit. But once he left the Patriots and won a Super Bowl there, and I was like, Belichick's a bum. I'm fine with it. It is what it is. Is Boogie gone? No, not technically. Joey, I can't see your comment. There's nothing there. He's not technically gone yet. He's going to have to prove himself in camp. Otherwise, he will be gone. But I hope that he gets himself together and makes the team so we can let go of a Shaq and keep Boogie. I'd rather have Boogie if he can prove himself. And apparently his physique looks better, which I didn't hear until this show when somebody told me in the comments that Vaughn was impressed with that. Also, Vaughn is on his team, so he's supposed to say good things about him. So take that for what it's worth. But I'm hoping that Boogie can get his stuff together and dethrone Shaq for that spot. If he can, I'm all for it. But if not, I at least want Shaq to be on the practice squad in case they have to let go of Boogie and bring Shaq back up. That's just how I feel about that. Yeah, I read Alex will beat out Dane. I hope so. Look, I like Dane Jackson as a tackler. As a tackler, that's his best trait is his tackling. In coverage, he's too inconsistent. So I would not be mad if they walked away from Dane after this training camp and preseason. So thanks for sharing it to the 12th Man Mafia. Appreciate you, brother. Let's go, Buffalo. Let's go, baby. You know me. But yeah, you know what? This comment is actually perfect timing because I'm getting ready to finish the show. And in my assessment, I will say the Bills either stayed the same in most positions or they got better. And to me, that's getting better. There's only one spot that they didn't get better, and that's middle linebacker. And that's yet to be seen because they're all young players there now. They're all young players, and we could see. We could trade Dane Jackson. I don't know what we would get back from. Probably a conditional 7th, but or maybe a conditional 6th. That will turn into a 7th if he doesn't see the field. A conditional 7th would mean either he goes there, you get a 7th, but if he plays well, you get a 6th. Or conditional 7th could mean if he makes the roster, you get a 7th. So we'll see. Kind of like that Andre Smith trade we made with the Panthers that 1 year where we traded for Andre Smith. He was on our roster. Then we cut him. We didn't have to send them a draft pick. Then we re-signed him after. That was brilliance by Brandon Beane. But yeah, I think that the Bills overall did get better. They got better on the offensive line. I think they got better in the running back room. I think they got better at the back end of the wide receiver room. I think they got better at defensive line, both end and tackle. They got better in the secondary. Depth all around the roster got better with all the moves that they made. Not only that, the only spot that they didn't get better, again, was middle linebacker. That's the one spot on the team that did not improve. And the thing with that is again, has yet to be seen. And one of these young guys, Terrell Bernard or Dorian Williams or even Balin Spector, you never know, could come in here, wow the team, take that spot, earn it, and quell any of these worries that we might have had. We'll have to see. Training camp is, a couple weeks away, I think it is. Actual start of actual training camp at St. John Fisher. And, I can't wait. So, guys, it has been a wonderful day. Thank you all. Isn't he on a one season contract? Dane Jackson isn't a 1 season contract. He has been since his rookie year because we cut him that year. But we have his restricted rights every year. So they just slapped the restricted contract on him, and no one comes to try and get him. Even though they could, but they don't because they'd have to give up. They'd have to match the draft pick that we drafted him with in the 7th round. And if he's not worth getting a 7th round for him, then what's the point? But yeah, I like Dane, but but overall, the Bills got better. The Bills got better. They're gonna have to scheme around that middle linebacker spot, but if everybody can do it, it's Sean McDermott, and you're gonna see a lot more blitzing. You see a lot more blitzing, I believe. It was a great show, brother. It went fast. It always does, talking about Buffalo Bills. Thanks for everything. Great show. Thank you, sir. And one more thing I will say. Leslie Frazier was a solid defensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. He did a good job. Top 5 defense every year. I think that Sean McDermott is going to be better at that job, and I cannot wait. Cannot wait to see what Sean McDermott does. Minicamp starts the 13th. Yep. I'm talking about training camp, the one we all get to see and go to at St. John Fisher. That's when it's going to hit the fan. But guys, you have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. Thank you for being here with me. Happy birthday to my son, Juan Carlos. Love you, buddy. And that is the show. Bye, guys. Go Bills.